What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, legendary, retired, iconic, Hall of Fame, superstar boxer, the man, the myth, the legend, Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. is now a trainer. He is a boxing pundit. He has a podcast. Roy Jones, he weighs in on the highly anticipated undisputed welterweight showdown between undefeated WBO 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who's widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Bud Crawford, 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age, 5'8", with a 74-inch arm reach, and undefeated unified WBC, IBF, WBA, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who is widely considered to be top 2, if not #1. Definitely top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world. And Errol the True Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. So Roy Jones, he gives his thoughts on Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford fight not happening right now. And Roy Jones, he breaks some news. He says that he knows that Terence Crawford wants this fight with Errol Spence because he's been his advisor for Terence Crawford. And he says that he knows that the other side is dragging their feet, right? So he says that, Terence Crawford, now that he's not with legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO Bob Arum, and he's not with ESPN, he says that he knows Terence Crawford wants this fight with Errol Spence, right? And he says that, Errol Spence has to stand on his own, right? He says when you have all the outside entities, he says Errol Spence wants to fight. He says he's Terence Crawford. He's been Terence Crawford's advisor, silent advisor, for this fight. And he says that he knows Terence Crawford wants this fight. And he's saying that, that Errol Spence has to, cut off the fat, right? He's saying that Errol Spence needs to, stand on his own too, right? He needs to eliminate all the outside voices. Now we know Errol Spence, he's with PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman. And he's with Showdown President of Sports Steven Espinosa or Fox, right? And so he says that he knows that, that this is a fight that Terence Crawford wants. But he says that, the fight can't happen because, that Errol Spence has these, outside, entities that's blocking the fight. Okay. And so he says that, he references his situation with James Toney, right? And he says that, he said that his father, right, turned down the fight for him and James Toney the first time it was offered. So Roy Jones is saying that, that fight was on the table for him, and his father turned it down, right? So then he goes on to say that he had to cut the trim, and he said that he had to cut the trim out, and he had to eliminate his father, and he said that he had to do it. That was a issue. Now, many people may not remember, but Roy Jones and his father had parted ways for a while. They wasn't seeing eye to eye. They wasn't even talking for a while. And he says that this was part of the reason, because he wasn't going to turn down fighting the best. And James Toney was the best. So he said that the fight was on the table, and Roy Jones saying Roy Jones Sr., his father, turned the fight down, and he wasn't going to let that happen when it came back around. So he's saying that's his message to Errol Spence. You can't let anybody block this fight, right? So he's saying that, let me get to that. Hold on. I want you to hear this. So,
do you have faith that
So he goes on to say that, you know, he was the best. James Toney was the best. I don't know. It sounds strange. And you know, this is the biggest fight in boxing. I know you have people saying, to me, it's the biggest fight in boxing. You have the best fighting the best. In the welterweight division, there's no doubt that Errol Spence and Terence Crawford are the best in the best. And, you know, there's guys coming up behind them, like Jerron Boots Ennis, you know, who's definitely a threat to them. You know, there's big names coming up behind them. But for the most part, you know, they are the top two. And no doubt, they're both top five. Now, some people may have their own opinion as to what order you put Terence Crawford and Errol Spence in the top five. But they definitely got to be in your top five. So, and they're both undefeated. Canelo Alvarez has lost, okay, twice with 2 draws. You know, heavyweight division shouldn't be on the pound for pound list. So, you know, when you look at the top five, there's no doubt that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence should be in everybody's top 5 pound for pound. Okay. You know, so with that said, what I'm afraid of, what I'm really afraid of, is that they're not careful. There are other guys under them that are looking at them saying, if this gets fight. So I want to get to the part. I want y'all to hear this. And shout out to Marco and shout out to Fight Hype. Joshua versus Wild. It's a bit different because, come on, bro, you always the Republican boxing. So I want to get to this part. The light and light secure student can make but somebody at some point. I want to get to the part. I want y'all to hear this. He says that he's been Terence Crawford's advisor. You know, so he gets to the part where you could go to see the interview on Fight Hub with Marco. You can see the interview in its entirety on Fight Hub TV with Marco Villegas. You know, it's very interesting that he says, you know, he's been Terence Crawford's advisor, right? Like I said, you know, the budget wasn't there for this fight, period. Okay. We had Tim Smith for the PBC tell us this in January. We had we have Floyd Mayweather told us this numerous of times. And me, myself included, I was naive. I wanted to believe that this year, after Errol Spence, April 16th, unification bout with your Dana Sugas, we're going to get Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence this year. No hold up, right? That's what I believed. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And it became evident to me as time went on that the budget just simply wasn't there. Once it was made public that there was no guarantee money for the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, right? Then that told me something. And once I realized none of these other fighters was fighting this year, that everybody fought once this year, there was no money for this fight. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because people will tell you, well, they were saving all the money for Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. If that was the case, people, we have to start using 1 + 1 should equal 2. If that was the case, and they were waiting for Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, then they wouldn't not have no guaranteed money. There would be guaranteed money available for both guys if they was waiting and focusing and geared towards just making this fight happen. So if they was geared and focused on making this fight happen, and hence the reason why they wasn't putting no money nowhere else, then why would they not have guaranteed money up front? If you're taking the rest of the budget from 2022 and putting it in Terence Crawford Errol Spence fight, then why would they not get no guaranteed money? You're not going to put on any other events this year. No other big events this year. No high profile fights this year. Why wouldn't you have a guaranteed budget for Terence Crawford, Errol Spence? The last big fight that they had was October 15th, was Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius didn't break bank. Okay? That's the last big fight they had this year. So why wouldn't you tally up all the rest of the budget and gear it to Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and then give them guaranteed money? Because it's just not there, people. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It's simply not there. So with that said, right? Roy Jones surprised me by saying he's Terence Crawford advisor, silent advisor, and that he knows that Errol Spence needs to stand on his own and make this fight happen. What Errol Spence has been doing has been working for Errol Spence. So I understand Errol Spence's standpoint and not wanting to, part ways with Al and just make the fight happen. I understand that wholeheartedly, right? Because it's worked for him and he's had success. What Roy Jones is saying is that he had to cut everybody out to make sure he could fight James Toney, regardless of where it put his relationship with his own father. That's surprising to me. So he says he knows, he's been privy to the information. He knows what's going on, and that Terence Crawford wants to fight. I believe that both of them want to fight. Like Terence Crawford said, Errol Spence wants to fight. It's the business of the sport of boxing that's preventing this fight from happening, period. The powers that be, the networks, the promoters, the budget may not be there. Well, may not be. The budget is not there, period. And so we're not getting Terence Crawford, Errol Spence this year, point blank and period. So let's see how everything unfolds and plays out moving forward. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. I was trying to find the clip, but it's just, too much going on. So
My dad had always rejected the fight. I want to fight one time. Never again. Because I know the world want to see that. I want to be pound the best. I want to fight the best person in my weight that are close to me. Whoever close to me, they call pound for pound. That's why I got to fight. Yeah. Next time came 21 the same. 21 to prove he's the baddest of everybody. So ain't nobody stopping us from fighting, or we're gonna have an issue. You understand me? And that's what happened. So it wasn't so far as for me, because we wanted to fight so bad, I got stripped of my IBF middleweight title as soon as I signed the fight. Now remind you, when he signed the fight, Arian Barkley, he was the.
So he's breaking down how he parted ways from his dad. He wasn't gonna let his dad turn down James Toney fight again, and James Toney was just as persistent as making a fight. They wasn't going to let the sanction bodies, he's saying the sanction bodies were standing in the way. His father was standing in the way. They wasn't going to make that happen.
After he beat Arian Barker, they gave him 10 days to decide whether he was going to keep the middleweight title or the super middleweight title. Because of interference, outside interference from promoters, of course, same thing I'm talking about right now. As soon as I signed to fight James, they stripped me of my IBF title, middleweight title. Why don't the same people he got?
So you see what he's saying? He's saying the same thing is going on right here with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, right?
Because I'm not protected by a so-called promoter. But for me, I didn't need a promoter's protection. I needed God's protection. And that's all I ever worried about. As long as I had that, that's why they couldn't do nothing with me. And they still can't do nothing with me. Because I keep that same God protection. And that's just what it is. So when you have God, you don't need nobody else. You can't walk on your own with God. You got to depend on other people to tell you how to walk. You're never going to be where you're going.
Because of what Terence did online, going in.
So he's asking him, now Marco's asking him about the clip that Terence Crawford put out, going in on the PBC, so on and so forth, and exposing the business. Is he going to get the fight, right?
And saying the things he said about PBC now.
It's kind of strange. What I'm afraid of, what I'm really afraid of, to be honest with you, is that they're not careful. There are other guys under them that are looking at them saying, if this get it's kind of strange. What I'm afraid of, they can't seem to make each other fight. And we want to go whoop one of them so we can fight the other one. And that's giving these other guys more encouragement, because they're like, well, the best won't fight the best. Then he's going to beat one of the best, so I can become that person, and I'm going to fight him. But now we miss another fight. Just like how we missed Joshua versus Wilder. Waiting around too much. You understand me? If we ain't careful, we might end up missing Usyk versus Joshua. Because
Fury.
Usyk versus Fury.
So he's going in about the other fights that we missed.
But That fight is a little bit different because they so similar. It's a little man and a big man with similar IQs, so that's a different fight. But when you got the best and the best, and you don't know who's the best, come on, bro. You owe it to the public to watch.
Ryan versus.
So this, Roy goes in on this.
My IBF middleweight title. So I got to fight. Yeah. Next time game, never again, because I know the world want to see this. Old school. The old school.
I'm trying to find a part for you.
Roy Jones, James Tony type deal, right? My dad, Queen, one of the fighters, together gonna fight. Nobody is a fight because too much outside appearance. All the talk, whatever it is, but until you see the fight, actually, them two in the ring together.
Well, go to Marco, go to Fight Hub TV, and you can see it in its entirety, man. I missed the mark right now, but just go to Fight Hub TV. Shout out to Marco Villegas, Roy Jones. He says that he's Terence Crawford advisor, and he knew that Terence Crawford wants to fight, and it's he knows the business, and on Errol Spence's side is preventing the fight. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.